Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander EDC. Unfortunately back inside today because it's just raining, you know. Again, I've said this quite a few times, there's a vicious and malicious rumour going around that here in the UK it rains a lot. It shouldn't be kept as a rumour, it should be kept as a truth. It rains a lot, so yeah, can't get outside. But what I thought I'd do today is pick up on something that I've actually been testing out now for, I think, since kind of mid-May. So one of the subscribers here, Agabus, contacted me and said, you know, I noticed you've not made any content on the Tac Pouch 4 from Tasmanian Tiger, and that, I mean, that's perfectly correct, I hadn't. So he asked if I'd like to make something on that, but also in 2021 Tasmanian Tiger have done an upgrade on all of their Tac Pouches. So you've gone from the Tac Pouch 1 to the Tac Pouch 1.1, Tac Pouch 2 to 2.2, Tac Pouch 5 to 5.1. So what I can do today is, thank you to Agabus, is show you the difference between the Tac Pouch 4 and the Tac Pouch 4.1. So we'll have a look at these, really kind of go a bit into what you get from each of them and the subtle differences between the two, so that if you were wanting to pick one of these up in the future, there's still plenty of these, which is the original Tac Pouch 4, still plenty of these lying around. But then if you prefer the differences that are being included into the Tac Pouch 4.1, then you know you can pick one of these up as well. So I'll turn the camera around now so that we can have a closer look at these. So I thought what would be useful at this point is, just in case you didn't know, this one here on the left hand side, this is the OG. So this is the Tasmanian Tiger Tac Pouch 4. The one here on the right hand side, this is the upgraded version, and this is the Tasmanian Tiger Tac Pouch 4.1. Usually at this point, you know, I'd go through construction and size, but a lot of the things that are on here, sorry, I'm just bringing my ruler up here so that you can get a rough idea in inches. But as far as the dimensions, it's 10 centimeters by 15 centimeters by 4 centimeters deep. This one, the newer 4.1, is exactly the same dimensions. Now when you look at it, which we'll have a look in a second, this one has a slimmer profile, but it's just down to the way that the new version has been constructed and some of the changes that have been made slightly. So this one feels a little bit more flush against your body or against a pack when it's on there, but if you were to fill this with the same, it's exactly the same volume inside. In inches, it's roughly 6 inches by roughly 4 inches by about 1.5 inches deep. They're both constructed from 700D CORDURA, so you get the advantage of the toughness that you'd expect from 1000D, but you also get some of the lighter properties that you get from 500D. It's actually a really nice balance, and there's not very many companies out there using 700, and it is proper CORDURA rather than a no-name style ballistic type nylon. All of the zips that are on here, they are YKK zips, and they are the newer RC YKK zips, which a lot of it comes down to the way in which the teeth of the zip mold together. They're kind of stacked. It's more, I can't do it with my fingers, but it's stacked differently. So as they slide together, it slightly lifts them, but because they reverse stitch, it pushes them down slightly, but it just makes it smoother. For if you do manage to get debris in there, there are less snags. Now we all know that YKK zips are usually quite good in themselves, but this just makes them that extra little bit more reliable. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just put that one to one side. So we'll go through the original one here. So on the front, you'll see that you have some hook and loop so that you can attach something on there, depending on, you know, what the use for this is. You might be able to put that it might be gun cleaning, or it might be that it's just for EDC, or, you know, you might have electronics in there. There is a small tab that you can attach things to if you wanted to, and then you've got 4 rows, so you've got 4 columns on a single row of PAES webbing. On the back, you have 3 rows, you have 4 columns on 1 row, so that if you want to attach this, this is perfect for attaching to belts, it's perfect for attaching to the sides of packs if you have them on the sides. It's perfect for that kind of thing. The snaps that they use these really bomber industrial style press studs, and this is the same webbing that's on here, but what they do is stitched into this, the webbing is doubled over, and then on the inside there's a plastic panel that is then stitched between the two, which makes it very rugged. So when you're trying to get these in, you ever get sometimes when you're putting your molly in and you're putting these through and you kind of struggle to get things through because these are so rigid, it does make them very easy to get through. And the snaps on them are absolutely brilliant. They're actually a bit of a pain in the arse to get off, but in my eyes that makes it more secure. See, there you go, you do have to have a bit of a wrestle with it, but I think I'd rather it be extra secure than worried that it might possibly come loose. On the sides, you have there's 2 extra tabs just in case you want to hold onto that to open it. You can do, that's there, but I guess if you wanted to, you could hang something from those as well. And last but not least, on the bottom there is a grommet that you can use if you do get any sort of water in here. When it opens, it is an ambi open, so you have 2 zips. Both of the zips have these paracord little lashes on them, and it opens roughly halfway down, so it's not full clamshell, it's half clamshell. Now at this point what I'll do is I'll swap to this one, which is the version 4.1, just to show you how this one works. So as I mentioned, you know, as far as dimensions, they are the same dimension, 10 by 15 by 4. On the front, rather than having the PAES webbing, instead what they have is these little daisy chain style loops. So there are 3 of those, 1, 2, 3, so that you can pass things through here. Maybe if you have a pen, maybe if you have some chem lights, you can pass those through that way so that you're using the space a little bit more effectively than with this. This is great and you can put things on there, but if you were to say attach another pack or a pouch on there, it would end up like that. If it was that you wanted something that was like a chem light maybe or something, then they're just going to hang down, whereas having this in more of a landscape layout does make it easier to be able to get things on there and be able to use this space a little bit more effectively. Last thing I forgot to notice is, forgot to mention is you have a small little grey Tasmanian Tiger, whereas on the 4.1 it's a black Tasmanian Tiger, which makes it a little bit more subtle. Not that it's particularly garish, but it just makes that, yeah, again, it's just a little bit more subtle. On the bottom they have removed the grommet. On the back, instead of having 3 columns on 1 row, there are now 4 columns, and to make sure that you can get this extra secure, to give you more options depending on the size of your belt or depending on what you're wanting to attach this to, it now has 4 rows that you can use. And if needs be, if you do need to use that extra row, although really this is for slipping that underneath there, but if you did need to use that, you could go right there round underneath that one, over that one, and then instead of having these press studs, I've probably mangled that because I've been talking whilst I've been showing you. So instead of using the press studs, Tasmanian Tiger have gone down the route that a lot of manufacturers are starting to do now, is you have these HYPERLON sleeves. So if you don't know HYPERLON is the material that they use on these inflatable landing crafts. So it's super tough, super durable. It does have a wee bit of give in it. I mean, I wouldn't say it's got a lot of give in it. But you know, well, put it this way, it's very tough. If you can make an inflatable dinghy out of it, then, you know, and the forces use that, then it's going to be great. And what they do then is they then do the same, that you have that double over. There is another plastic sheet inside of here to give it extra rigidity, so that when you've threaded it through, you then pass that back up through there, which keeps it in place. Now, I'm not going to lie, when I first got this and I first saw it, I did think that is not going to be as secure. But I've been testing both of these two out. I've had these while I've been shooting, while I've been filming things. And do you know what? They're great. They do make it a little bit easier, especially for the pass-through, because you now don't have the press stud on there. Being able to pass this through the webbing is a lot easier, and I quite like it now. You have you've got the CORDURA logo on the back, and then there's a little Tasmanian Tiger there. On the sides is where you'll also see the next difference. So the original opened halfway down, whereas the new 4.1 is a full clamshell. So if you do need to get into here and you need to get into here quickly, it's actually easier to be able to get your things in and out of now that it's gone full clamshell. So I think this is probably useful, as this is now where we get to compare the two of them on the inside. It is a little bit trickier with this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to fold this inside out, mainly because I can, and it just shows you what's in there. So if you imagine this panel is this panel, and then there is this panel here. So on the back panels, they're pretty much identical. So you have a double loop of elastic on each of these. I'm just trying to get these in the light perfectly so that you can see these. I appreciate filming black on black is quite difficult to see sometimes. But you've got two large double columns of elastic on there. The elastic that Tasmanian Tiger use, again, you know, as you'd expect from Tasmanian Tiger, it's just bomber. It really is. It's indestructible stuff. If you're wondering, you know, what can you fit in there? Just, I guess, a few examples. We all see people carrying Altoids tins. Altoids tin fits in there perfectly. If you like to rock it OG, don't you know, comment on the music. It was just a tape that I found. Then you can fit that in there, and both of these will close with those in, just in case you want some sort of, you know, idea of what you get in there for size. So they're identical. On the 4, or at least the Tac Pouch 4, you have a small D-ring. On the Tac Pouch 4.1, instead of using the D-ring, there's just some paracord here at the top, a little loop in case you want to attach something to them. On the flip side, and this is one of the main differences between the two, so on the Tac Pouch 4, this side is completely flush, there's nothing on there, and you put everything in here, but that side isn't usable as far as storage is concerned. Whereas with the Tac Pouch 4.1, instead, what they've done is they've added some meshing. If I put that there, they've added some meshing, and then they've also put a slip hood on that, for the main reason that if you're holding that this way and you have something in here, if this was to, you've got this on a belt, if this was to fall down, then everything would fall out of this mesh. But instead, because they've got a slip hood here, if you have anything in here and this was to open without your control as such, this slip hood here would catch that. That's one of the main differences between the two. Obviously there's the molly on the pals on the front and the way in which the backs change, but I think this introduction here on the front of this extra mesh section does make quite a bit of a difference for me. Now when this is closed, there's a Rights in the Rain. If I grab my mobile out of my pocket, this is a Samsung Galaxy S20. You can fit all of that in, which I think the Tac Pouch 4 and the 4.1 make really great EDC style pouches, mainly because they're just perfect for this sort of stuff. If you're going out, maybe you're taking a sling with you or something, you can attach this to the sling, you can attach this to a belt. If you're doing some backpacking and you've got a waist strap or a chest strap, you can pass these through the chest strap so that you've got it there on your chest. You know, all of the essential things that you need are there just in case. There was one thing that I mentioned, and that was just about the size difference on how this sits a little bit more flush to your body, and that's mainly down to this lip. So I might mention this at the beginning, but what you have is, if I close this up, hopefully you'll be able to see here that there are two lips. There is a posh name for this, the way in which this lip works, but I can't remember what it's called. So they sit over the zip, so that as you open this up, it releases the zip from the inside. These lips that go over here are constructed from the same 700D CORDURA, which means that it just adds a little bit more rigidity to these corners and to the top of the pouch, which makes it forces itself to open out, so that when you've got the volume in there, to have less of the volume in, it does automatically try and force that out again, which means that it doesn't sit as flush on your body or your pack, wherever you've got this attached to. Having removed those two, you still have a small liner here on the front and the back, which does reinforce where this zip is. Hopefully you can see this in the light, but it does reinforce where this zip is. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't force it to rigidly keep that shape. So when there is less in here, then it sits roughly half the width of the 4, or at least the 4.1 sits at roughly half the width of the 4. But you know, because it's still the same 10 by 15 by 4 centimeters deep, if you wanted to fill this, you'd still be able to get just as much into this one as you can in this one. I think whether you go for the Tac Pouch 4 or whether you go for the Tac Pouch 4.1, as you get with a lot of Tasmanian Tiger gear, you're definitely going to get yourself a good pouch. Personally, I really like the upgrades or the update that they've done from the 4 to the 4.1. The fact now that although it's still the same dimensions, you get it so it's a little bit of a slimmer profile towards you. Yes, maybe, okay, there's less of a rain hood. If you call it a rain hood, it doesn't go completely over the zip, but there's less of that on here to stop dust and debris getting in there. But considering that the zips on here are reverse stitched, they're all the YKK RC reversed stitched ones, I've got every confidence that, you know, they're still going to be just as reliable and just as strong. And the way that they've changed it so that you can go for that more of a clamshell to get into the whole thing, and the clever way that they've changed the lip on the internal pocket, I think the upgrade to the 4.1 is actually really good, and I'm definitely going to get one of these myself, so that I can use one of these. What I'll also try and do is I'll try and see if I can get my hands on some more of the upgraded ones so that I can show you the difference in the versions between the current ones that I have. So it would be really good at this point to say thanks again to Agabus to sending these my way. You're a good man, and I appreciate you sending these my way. What I'll do is I'll make sure that these are returned back to you, so that you can continue to use these. While we're here, another probably useful point is if you're here in the UK, being one of Tasmanian Tiger's UK ambassadors, I do have a discount code. If you go to tasmaniantiger.co.uk and use the code Moor EDC, then you'll receive 10% discount off everything in your basket when you get to the end. I'll leave some more links in the description below so that you can check those out. There'll also be some of my social media links. There'll be links to my social media below as well, but for now, stay safe, stay Moorlander, and stay EDC.